everyone, my name is Zo, and in today's video, because a lot of you guys were asking for it, I prepared for you guys a POB about a magicfind starting kit for a toxic rain pathfinder. You should be able to start farming tier 7 cemeteries with these items, and it should not cost you more than 10 divines. Alright, let's check out the POB. First of all, the items. This is a standard regular bow with +3, where you should put your toxic rain in. I checked earlier, this bow was around 70-80 chaos, 6 linked, it's pretty cheap. For quiver, you want something with damage over time multiplier for attack skills, life, and damage with bows. The best base for it is a broadhead because you get that 10% attack speed, and you can also craft another 12% attack speed on this. You should be able to get it on your 1 divine. A helmet. This is a helmet with some life, some rarity. It's only 1 rarity mod on it, and the rarity craft for slaying rare and unique enemies, together with some chaos res. Now the chaos res is pretty important. It's a lot more important than the elemental resistances, because we can cap the elemental resistances with the help of our flasks, but chaos res we cannot. Also, the reduced mana cost of attacks is pretty big on this, so make sure you get your Ether and Exarch mods on them as they are on this helmet. They don't need to be that high in tier, but at least get them on. As a chest piece, we get a lightning coil. It doesn't need to be corrupted. It's just a good thing if it's a 6 link, because we will equip the withering toxic rain over here, like the Mana Forge arrow setup with withering toxic rain, with a bit of onslaught, frenzy of onslaught, and so on. You guys, we will see later on. For our gloves, we will use just a rare pair with attack speed, life, and chaos res. We do need this chaos res to get our chaos res into positives, so we don't die from poison too often. For boots, we want 20 quantity gold worm. It don't need to be corrupted. These are a couple of chaos. For amulet, we want Defiance of Destiny. Now the most important stat on this is that they gain 30% of missing unreserved life before being hit by an enemy. This goes up to 35%, so the higher you can get it for your budget, the better. Also, later on, we will be able to quality it with life modifiers, and that brings up this amulet to 42%, which is kind of huge. So whenever you're gonna get a 35% one, yeah, make sure you quality it. As rings, we want some Ventors. I went with some really cheap ones, 7% quantity, 30% rarity. Now the quantity and rarity are by far the most important stats on these Ventors, but also don't buy Ventors with minus resistances. Like, we don't really need the elemental resistances, but at the same time we don't want to game power resistances. So yeah, you buy 8 quantity, 9 quantity, 30 plus rarity, and a bit of resistances. It depends on what budget you have. I think these Ventors like these are a couple of chaos, so pretty cheap. For belt, this might be a bit expensive, because I went with a pair that has the flask charges gained and the flask effect duration. Those are the 2 important stats, together with some life and maybe some resistances. Again, chaos res would be perfect. If you don't have that, any resistance would do. For flask, we want, of course, divination distillate. Get one with 12 increased quantity and as much rarity as you can. This is a huge part of our magic find because we have so much flask effect for being a pathfinder that this scales very, very well. Also, we do want a Taste of Hate with 15% physical damage from his taken as cold. Now, if it's too expensive for you, of course, you can go down to 14 and so on. Those should be a lot cheaper. Another flask we want is a Topaz flask. Now, the best mods for them are the charge recovery, and you will want the reduced mana cost of skills during effect craft on them. Also, we're gonna automate our flask, so we want to craft on them used when charges reach full. This way, during the map, you don't have to press your flasks at all. You will only press Divination Distillate. Another flask is a gold flask. Same increase charge recovery and same with a rarity of items found during effect. This gives us like 90% rarity alone this flask, so it's pretty good. For Quicksilver flask, I went with attack speed because we want our build to do damage. I preferred that over movement speed. We have plenty of movement speed. If you really want more movement speed, you can get it, but I think you're gonna gimp your damage quite a lot. As you can see, it's like 10% more damage, only that craft on your Quicksilver. Alright, now let's check our skills. In our chest piece, as I was saying, we will have Mana Forge Arrow setup with Toxic Rain of Withering, Frenzy of Onslaught, Life Tap, Cooling Strike, and Rarity. Hopefully, if you don't one-shot everything too fast with the other Toxic Rain setup, you can cool them and get some extra rarity by cooling them. Cooling the rare monsters, which is the most important thing anyway. You don't really care about the white monsters. You put your main Toxic Rain in your weapon. I did add Awakened Void Manipulation level 5. If you don't have money for it, just get a normal Void Manipulation. But an Awakened Void Manip doesn't cost that much, and it should give you, it does give you that +1 level of Socketed Chaos skill gems, which is pretty good. Then I went for a normal Vicious Projectiles. If you have more money, get an Awakened one. We will need Midage Archer. We will need Efficacy, and we finish off the 6th link with Cruelty. Now, after, you're gonna get a different bow. I also added another upgrade for you guys in this bow. As you guys can see, this is a crafted one. It should cost around 6, 7, 8 divines. But it has the increase. It's a hunter bow with +1 level of socketed gems, increased chaos damage over time and attack speed, and it's also multi-modded. If we equip this bow, we will see our damage go up a bit. But the real thing is, if we're gonna change the cruelty with an empower, our damage goes up by quite a lot. So this is like one of your biggest upgrades you can get at the beginning. After your basic setup, get this bow. This bow is really nice. Our auras are in our helmet, and they are Malevolence, Purity of Elements, Petrified Blood, and even though I link them with an Enlighten, as you guys can see in the unreserved mana part down here, we don't need it. We will need it later on whenever we want to get a Blasphemy Curse or any other aura, but at the moment it's not needed. So that's pretty cool. In our boots we have an Immortal Call. You can use this on your left click together with Withering Step, and then Despair linked to Hexbloom. Now Despair with Hexbloom is gonna spread around all your screen when you're killing stuff. So yeah, it's pretty helpful. Hexbloom is a pretty good support for any curse. In our gloves, we have our arrogance, like our arrogance auras, which means that they are on your life, and because we are low life, we don't lose that much. So I linked arrogance to vitality and defiance banner, and also we have a blink arrow that we can use to jump around whenever we're stuck in our map somewhere. Alright, this being said, we move on to our passive tree. Now this is only a level 88 tree because yeah, tier 7s you can start pretty low. It's only a 1 cluster setup tree. I also added the second cluster for later on if you're gonna wish to upgrade to it. It is a lot of damage, so to upgrade to second cluster you will need a bit more levels, and you can drop all this part over here. Click on that and then you can start, you know, getting all your cluster setups from here. Another thing, all the jewels I'm using are just some normal jewels with life, attack speed, and chaos damage over time multiplier, or normal damage over time multiplier. They are really good to increase our damage, so don't sleep on them. Buy them for 10-20 chaos if you need to, because they're pretty good. Over here we use a little pride. I just took one randomly. It doesn't give any real stats, but it gives strength, and we do need 155 strength, so that's why we do need to use a little pride over here. As you guys can see, the damage bonuses it gives are kind of bad. Like burning damage, melee damage, armor. I think I have life over here, but you can of course at any time just try to find a good one with this find timeless jewel command. Over here you just set up what you want. You want a little pride, it doesn't matter what conqueror. You want it at the supreme ego part, and yeah, you can search for a node. Damage, double damage, extra life, whatever you guys want. Okay, so this is how the tree looks like. We are suppression capped, we have a lot of resistances, we have positive chaos res, we can take quite big physical hits. About our recovery, it does kind of lack, unfortunately. We would need to get some life gain on hit or some recoup. Or if you guys will kind of like, I don't know, die too much, you guys can take this node. Like, this will give you 10% life gain on hit and 15% chance to get 200 life on hit with attacks. And Toxic Rain does attack quite often, so this node over here is pretty good for your recovery if you will have any issues on that part. Okay, in the second part I also prepared for you guys an atlas, because many of you were asking for it. Now it contains a couple of mandatory things for the tier 7 cemetery farming strat, and that is the guild the Biscarab. This is a 125 point atlas, so you will have to kind of complete your atlas. And yeah, I don't know if at 125 you will actually need to do any invitations or not. I think I have 128 and I did only a couple of them, so should be fine. If we need to drop something, we can with ease. This tree focuses on a couple of things. Abyss, of course, because it's the core of our strategy. Shrines, harbingers, and beyond. We also add a bit of ritual spawn chance for some extra rare monsters. You can drop them if you do not have enough points for this. Also, you can drop these shrine nodes if you want, or some harby nodes, but definitely do not drop abyss and beyond stuff. You keep those, because we will add beyond from the map device. And as I was saying, for scarabs we do want gilded abyss. This is how we get those spires. We do need this is mandatory. Then I added gilded reliquary. If you do not have the chaos for it, use a polished one, but gilded reliquary does give you a lot more unique items found, and it does help with loot conversion, so eventually you will get more loot with it. Then, because you could use gilded divination and gilded harbinger, but to make it a bit cheaper, I added polished divination and polished harbinger. Scarabs. Now, if you do not have all your or 5 of your spots over here on the map device, make sure you do a 4-way legion, and that's how you will unlock your 5th spot. For sextants, well, we have a couple mandatory, and that is the abyss one. And after that, I added a harby to get more harbingers and more currency. Now with harbingers, you do have a lot of rares, and you do have a chance to get fracturing shards, so eventually that's a pretty cool boost to your rewards. For boom booms, I went with a gloom shrine. This should add a bit of monsters, also increase the duration of the shrines you find in your maps, so that's pretty cool. It should help you clear your maps a lot faster. And the last one, I just added a cheap one with increased magic pack size. You can change this with whatever you want. +5 rare monsters if you wish. Hunted traitors is also a good one. And yeah, as you can see, we have 4 sextants, and that means you will need 4 watchstones. If you only have 2, maybe go and kill Maven. If you cannot kill Maven, maybe ask for a carry on TFT. And then you will need an Uber Elder for your last watchstone. As I was saying, if I would have only 2 watchstones, I would use only these 2, Abyss and Harbinger, or Abyss and Gloom Shrine. It depends if you need more damage, more help from the shrines or not. But yeah, you guys will be able to find a link to this atlas in the description below, so hopefully this helps. Okay, well, this is about it. I hope you guys can go and farm yourselves all the divines, because there's a lot of divines to farm this league, and the economy is kind of bloated. Everything that is really good costs a lot, so you can start off cheap though with only like 10 divines, and then grow into a hero, as everybody is saying. Get your headhunter, get your mirror gear, but just by mapping in tier 7s. You don't even have to worry about anything else, basically. That being said, thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you for being here. It does mean a lot. Keep walking, exiles. The next map awaits you.